So we're going to start with defeating gold sellers. Now, I saw this post. This is over on the official forums. Defeating gold sellers, how will we do it? And you be ready, you're going to be in for a little bit of a ride here. It seems people here believe perma-banning gold sellers and buyers is the best solution. Thus, it seems people in this game are just as delusional as every other community. It will fail, and the economy will be destroyed in 1 week. So first of all, I look at who's making this comment. It's a leader of men, so it's somebody who's put down a significant amount of money in the game. Second of all, you don't win your argument by saying people in this game are just as delusional as every other community. A massive amount of people are duping gold and buying gold in New World, and the ban is only 24 hours. Do you know why it's not a permaban? Because Amazon can't ban 50% of their whole player base. So first of all, I'm going to start with this person is just flat wrong because they're not accounting for Amazon Game Studios and their business model. So Amazon Game Studios has New World, and New World is a buy-to-play game. So what people have to realize is when you buy a buy-to-play game, the developer really doesn't care about long-term player retention. What they do care about is having a solid plan and methodology for long-term player acquisition and enough player reacquisition that the servers look healthy. Number two, Amazon can't run around and permaban its community because the gold duping is so prevalent that there are actually ways that people have accidentally duped gold. And that's how prevalent it is. That's how buggy their system is. But please, Intrepid, try to use the wisdom of other companies on how they battled gold sellers. Why do people buy gold? Because they're cheaters. Now, people buy gold because they're cheaters. There's about to be about 8 paragraphs here of justification and rationalization and why people buy gold, and that's fine. But remember on Monday we talked about the 5 whys? We don't have to do a 5 whys on why do people buy gold. Why do people buy gold? Because they're cheaters. Ah yes, the 50-hour grind to finally acquire that epic sword you wanted for so long. Many years ago, it would not be a problem. You had seemingly endless time to simply grind it out. Okay, the problem here is that this person is talking from a single spot in the sand and reflecting from themselves. Many years ago, it would not be a problem. You had seemingly endless time to simply grind it out. Well, which year are we talking about? Because in 1997 to 2002, I had seemingly endless time. But in 2003, I didn't have any time to play video games. I was at basic training and tech school. But today, with college, jobs, kids, partners, it won't really be possible. So in 2021, college, jobs, kids, partners became a thing. But in 2001, there weren't any MMORPG players going to college, working jobs, having kids, or having partners. It won't really be possible, not fast enough anyway. The next patch will likely come out with new and better items before you get the chance to get and use this one long enough to feel worth it. Okay, so far this has all been personal opinion, personal subjective, and bias, and just personal bias. And what really bothers you is how unfair the game is. You only have 1 to 2 hours a day at maximum to play each day, and even that is stretching it since you simply can't play every single day. How can you compete with people who put in 20 to 40 hours a week when you only get to play 5 to 10 hours a week? You don't. Here's the magical answer to that. You don't compete with those people. You recognize the fact there will be a disparity between your level of power and their level of power. What is also unfair is that you don't want to spend time grinding when you finally get to play. You simply want to log in and do what you think is fun. Dungeons, raids, PvP. But those activities feel unfair to you because everyone is running around with so much better gear than you. That 10 to 30% stat advantage in your eyes is completely unfair. So first of all, in Ashes of Creation, the gear advantage is 50% of your power. But the gear advantage is 50% of your power. So yes, there is built into the system a disadvantage of gear. Again, that's part of the game you're playing when you sign up to play it. Why not simply just buy the required resources for that sword for a measly $300? Okay, so why not just cheat is what this person's argument boils down to. Why not just cheat? I mean, many years ago, 300 was an insane amount. But today, it's simply a few days of work. By doing basic calculations, you conclude that $300 is a lot less than 50 hours of grind. Let's just do a real quick analysis here. We're going to do $300 divided by 15. At $15 an hour, it's 20 hours of work. $300 divided by 10 would put us at 30 hours of work. So if you're making $15 an hour, this is half a week's pay. So this person's argument so far is just a bad and disingenuous argument. I chose $15 an hour because that's what Americans are currently advocating for minimum wage. I don't think you can say many years ago 300 was an insane amount, but today it's simply a few days of work. It's half a work week. I think if you're somebody working for $15 an hour, you're not just going to be like, oh, I'll give you half a work week's salary for a sword. By doing basic calculations, you can conclude that $300 is a lot less worth than 50 hours of grind. Well, not really, because I just said at $15 an hour, that's 20 hours. At $10 an hour, it's 30 hours. And the truth is, this person has made it sound like you have to do nothing but grind for 50 hours, that you can't have fun in ways that also generate income. You also deserve it. Why should a nerd goblin that sits in his mother's basement have advantage over you in game just because he has no life and you do? Hold on a second. I don't live in my mother's basement. I would love to. I would love to be able to live in my mother's basement. My mother passed away. So saying people who live in their mother's basements and saying that's an insult, I don't get that. But why should somebody who has no life and you do? I'm going to argue that there are people that can play video games 40 hours a week because they're retired, or they're independently wealthy, or they have jobs that they've worked really hard for to be on call, but they earn a paycheck. This person sounds like really angry at life. I know a guy makes 6 figures a year, only went on like 20 calls last year. But the company he works for an X-ray repair company. They keep him on salary because when they call him, he has 3 rings on his map. If it's within driving distance, he's got, how many hours to get there. And then this dude sometimes has to grab tools and jump on an airplane. So this person seems really angry and jaded, but let's keep going. Let's see if they get somewhere. Since you work a lot harder in real life, you feel like you deserve to skip some peasant grind in a game. The grind is simply there for kids or adults with way too much time on their hands anyway. You've been doing the same harder and more meaningful grind outside of the game. Hold on a second. More money on your external job doesn't mean your job is more meaningful. Case in point, you could be a professional athlete who makes millions of dollars a year. But be a person like Charles Barkley, who in his prime was basically an asshole who said, I am not a role model for your kids. Versus a teacher who is working for $32,000 a year in an inner city school. I would say the teacher at the inner city school is doing a more meaningful job. To provide for your family and dreams, while the nerd goblin simply wastes his life grinding. Again, this person's argument is almost just to be dismissed out of hand because they're so jaded and they're so negative about all the... Remember, the people that you're talking about are the people that you need to convince to whatever... We haven't even gotten to your proposed solution yet. So, you decide to simply buy a couple of million gold from a gold seller. It's easy for you to not get banned. Just do that little sneaky trick everyone else that does buy gold. Currently, the best method is to kill the gold seller in the outside world and loot his 150 stacks of herb. but you got to do it fast because Intrepid will restrict the amount of resources that drop from PvP in the next patch to combat gold selling. But it's okay, there are so many other ways that they don't know about, and new ways are created every day. First of all, you're dumb. Now your argument's just getting dumb, because a single gold seller can't carry 150,000 herb in their backpack. So the inventory management that Intrepid Studios is instituting is already one workaround. Number two, but it's okay, there are so many other ways that they don't know about, and new ways are created every day, but they do know about them. Just because other video games don't instantly ban people, that doesn't mean that they don't have the capability to. It means that other games are doing roll-ups because they know that the economy has a plus minus that it can absorb before the economy collapses. There's also somebody else has a thread, and we're going to talk about the GM thread next, because the GM thread is going to be part and parcel of how you combat gold sellers. Summary: people love playing the game, but all hate the grindy parts. No. People love playing the game, but hate all the grindy parts. I like the grindy parts. I like grinding if the grind is fun, if the grind is meaningful. I like having to run a dungeon 6 times to get 6 keys to open something. I enjoy that. People feel like they deserve it. I feel like I deserve what I earn. I don't feel I deserve anything that I don't earn, and I don't feel that I should be allowed to swipe just because I can, and I can swipe at a higher rate than this person can. Some statistics. In RuneScape, over 50% of the community bought gold for in-real cash. About 25% were regular gold buying customers. Where is that? Okay, statistics have to be able to be researched and reviewed and proven. I discount that 50% of the community bought gold for in real life cash. I would say that 50% of the community probably bought bonds, RuneScape bonds. 40% of the RuneScape player base were bots or gold farmers, answering the huge demand for gold. Okay, I don't know if that's true or not, but if that is true, then that's on RuneScape's developers who weren't banning. If 40% of your players are bots, then clearly, if this person can identify them, active GMing will fix this. In World of Warcraft, the same thing applies. No, it does not. Absolutely, in World of Warcraft, the same thing does not apply. It's extremely naive to believe that Ashes of Creation will be different, almost delusional. For this reason, our community has made a choice sooner or later before release on how you want to combat. For this reason, our community has to make a choice sooner or later before release on how you want to combat gold sellers. In-game moderation will not work, since it has never worked for any game. First of all, I want to slap this person with the get back in your lane stick. The community doesn't get to decide the method for combating gold sellers. The developers do. The developers do. The developers do. What is the problem with gold sellers, though? It does not affect me. It's when demand rises, so does supply. See, this is law. Well, no, that's not a law. So this right here, as an economics teacher, I'm going to tell you that this is wrong. As demand rises, so must supply, or price will rise, is the whole sentence there. But when demand rises, so does supply. No, that's actually incorrect. There is a when demand rises, so does cost. Absolutely. But when demand rises, so does supply. No, that's incorrect. That's just factually incorrect. If AOC is popular, a lot of people will play it, and a lot of people want to buy gold for real money. This will create a supply of gold sellers to match the amount of people willing to buy gold. It will also make bots more popular. Okay, so yes, as demand for a service rises, so does the number of people providing that service. That is true, but that's not the same as saying when demand rises, so does supply. Supply and demand becomes the gold, not the gold sellers providing it. Suddenly, you're no longer competing in game with other normal players, normal gamers that play for fun. You are competing with people who play Ashes of Creation as a job. And oh, does this screw up with the economy? Suddenly, a massive amount of people will spend 16 hours a day simply farming anything that has any value to later sell for real life or crypto, resulting in prices dropping drastically on every single gatherable resource in the game. Okay, so as supply increases, if demand remains, as supply increases, if demand reduces, price reduces. Supply and demand are in a symbiotic relationship. If there's only a need for 100,000 roses per week, and there's only 80,000 roses being gathered a week, the price will go high because 20,000 alchemists worth of roses can't get their order. At the same time, if the 100,000 rose need remains constant, but 200,000 roses are put into the marketplace each week, then the price will in fact drop because there's twice as much supply as there is demand. So this person is kind of hitting the marks sometimes. Your 4-hour-a-day grind of that rare ore that was so profitable back in the day, completely worthless. You need at least 4 to 5 16-hour shifts to make the same amount of value. That legendary sword that was once a massive amount of materials to make, suddenly it's cheaper than a bronze bar. Incorrect. Incorrect. Because Ashes of Creation has already factored in some of this. So it is factored in that you're going to be able to make that legendary. That legendary is... The supply of legendaries is fixed. There's legendary uniques that there's only one of, and there's legendaries that there might only ever be 5 of. So this person is forgetting that they just made the argument of supply and demand, but not everybody can have a Thunder Fury in Ashes. Some of his arguments are based on the idea that Intrepid Studios will not fight bots at all. Absolutely, and that's why my second thread of today is GMs. That way these two link together. Just ban the people buying gold. This does actually work until too many start buying gold. A subscription game requires subscribers. If 35% of the Ashes of Creation community buys gold, Intrepid Studios will simply have to live with that. They literally can't financially sustain an MMO if they ban 35% of the player base. You are absolutely incorrect here for 2 reasons. Number 1, 35% of your subscriber base, player base won't buy gold. If you aggressively start out at the very beginning of banning people who buy gold. And he's already made this argument. He's made this argument himself because he says people buy gold because they have to buy gold to keep up with people who are buying gold. And I don't dispute that. But if you chop the head off the snake, if you kill off the 10% of people who buy gold, the other 25% won't, number 1, have to, and number 2, will be too scared to. So this person is dismissing the value of banning gold buyers. More than 35% of people will leave if Intrepid Studios allows gold selling and gold buying. You're absolutely correct. So you're talking about, do I ban 10% to stop 25%, or do I let it happen and lose 70%? Because there will be people who leave if Intrepid doesn't buy gold, who would have bought gold, who say, well, I would have only bought gold to stay competitive. But because I see Intrepid Studios banning gold buyers, I don't feel the need to buy gold. How do we stop this? Pick your poison. Ashes of Creation starts selling gold themselves. When WoW and Runescape started selling gold themselves for regulated prices, the amount of people who bought gold for in real life cash decreased by 50%. No, it didn't. No, it didn't. Listen to your own sentence. When WoW and RuneScape started selling gold themselves for regulated prices, the amount of people who bought gold for in real life cash decreased by 50%. First of all, you don't have any statistics, any numbers, anything that proves this. Number 2, as Zetrix said, it stayed the same, if not increased, because you're selling it officially. The problem here is you're trying to make arguments and use facts to support a position. The number of people buying gold from third-party sites reduced? Sure. In RuneScape, you can buy 1 million gold from less than $1 for less than 10 cents from a farmer. But people still prefer to buy much more expensive from Jagex. This is done in the form of bonds or membership tokens. Yeah, we get that. But you just said the number of people buying gold reduced. WoW in RuneScape, in Tryon with Apex, in CCP with Plex, did not start selling gold in the form of their bonds, tokens, whatever, in order to combat gold selling and gold buying. They did it in order to get their cut, their slice of that pie. Hey guys, we got a major problem. We're losing revenue because people are buying gold and we're losing players. Well, let's just sell gold legally and then people won't go to those third parties. But we're still going to screw up the economy. Yeah, but we're not worried about fixing that problem. We'll worry about fixing that problem later. Restrict free trade in every single way to obtain items for other players. This usually kills the game. No, you can't do that. Ban everyone who got a suspicious amount of gold from any source. This usually reduces profits Ashes of Creation can make by about 30%. Again, you're just throwing numbers out there. You haven't shown me any statistics. You haven't shown me any models. You haven't shown me any business plans. Nothing. All you're saying, you're throwing out random statistics. Well, 92% of statistics on the internet are made up on the spot. Remember, an MMO does not have a crazy profit margin. That's incorrect as well. MMOs do have a crazy profit margin, depending on the business model of the MMO. This is not news. AOC won't make 50 to 100% profit every year. A realistic metric is 5 to 10 profit, and depending on how many whales buy cosmetics, 10 to 20%. This person has no idea about business. They need to stick to whatever they do in the real world, which I know isn't business. Okay? Now choose the path you want to walk down. Don't do anything about it. Well, no, you by default ban bots, because banning bots is a task the game company can do. Ban everyone that buys gold, removing a large portion of the player base. Again, you're incorrect. You're not going to remove a large portion of the player base. And even if you do remove a large portion of the player base, let me tell you what will happen. If you ban all the cheaters, your game will get more people playing it because people are looking for an MMORPG that bans cheaters. Restrict player item drops and free trade. No. Let Intrepid Studios sell a regulated amount of gold themselves. No, absolutely not. Which system worked best for other games? Well, the developers selling gold themselves, of course. No, it didn't work. Since so many people will buy gold anyways and we will never stop it, it is better for us to give money to Intrepid Studios. All this person is saying is they want to buy gold. This person is saying they want to be a swiper. They don't want to get banned for cheating. It causes morally wrong things to happen. Well, you know, when you walk out into the world wanting to kill other gatherers to make a quick buck, suddenly you're killing a mother who's just trying to provide for her family in real life. This happens in RuneScape all the time. I don't care. If you're choosing to, like, this is so pointless, you're cheating. You're a cheater, so I don't feel bad about killing you. It also drags quite a lot of players to the game. This is because you can tell them the game is free to play if they just play the game. What? Obviously, these free-to-play players will spend money in the game thanks to cosmetics. No, they won't. Okay, this is a straw man argument. You can't say that free-to-play players will spend money in the game. ArcAge teaches us that this is incorrect. And this is data from Tryon. Tryon shared with us the fact that, yes, ArcAge was supported by whales. ArcAge was a free-to-play game that the majority of people did not spend $1 on ArcAge, but they were supported by the whales who would spend 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, and in fact 30,000 on ArcAge. Instead of screaming as a monkey and countering my arguments here, try to come up with better solutions to the gold selling problems. Here, you want me to show you why you're the monkey and you've got the pile of bananas? It's really simple. It's really simple. Oh, hold on. Let me get his last comment. Please understand that large MMOs have been fighting gold sellers for decades. RuneScape, WoW, Final Fantasy, ESO have all been defeated by the system. Nobody has managed to beat it without causing community rage. The systems above are those that have been tried and worked. Okay, first of all, again, the selling tokens is not to combat gold sellers. And if you're going to try to make your argument that the selling tokens is to combat gold sellers, then he used the word naive a lot. That is very naive. The companies don't sell tokens or Apex or Plex to stop gold sellers. They do it in order to get their cut of that money. Number two, you want to know how you stop a lot of this is active GMs. Active GMs is what will stop a ton of this, because in Ashes of Creation, there is only 4 places that, or there's 5 places, I'm sorry, 4 places in the Overrealm and 1 person in the in 1 spot in the Underrealm that new players can come out of. So there are literally 5 places you need to park a GM presence. So people are aware, a GM can watch a place without physically, like, GMs are not restricted to having 1 character in 1 place. They literally can remote see multiple places if you give your GM and your moderation team those tools. A GM can monitor chat on multiple servers at the same time. So if you have a GM dedicated to monitoring chat and you give him the tool that does it, that GM, as you've seen my setup, right? As you guys have seen my setup, I have a 3 monitor setup. You could give a GM a 6-pack monitor setup, and then they could literally watch dozens of servers at the same time. And all they have to do is, oh, this person just advertised selling gold, flag them, and somebody else just grabs them, bans them, and they're done. You don't have to have, you don't have to make a bunch of excuses. Why do some companies not ban gold sellers right away? Because they're worried about rolling up the farmers, the hubs, the traders, and the buyers. Person says you can't ban gold buyers because whatever, 35% of your game will quit. Well, the argument that 35% of your game will quit is disingenuous, because more people are going to quit if you have rampant pay to win or rampant third-party gold buying. I think this person seriously wants to be able to buy gold. This person wants to be able to cheat and not get spanked for it, because their whole argument, everywhere in their argument, is don't you argue with me, I'm going to be insulting, I'm going to be condescending. Well, if that's the core of your argument, is to be condescending, insulting to people, well, then people aren't going to take your argument seriously. As you saw, I read his argument. Most of his argument is factually incorrect. He doesn't have backup for some of these statistics. I saw one of you say that RuneScape was 40% of the RuneScape player base was bots, where he says that right here. I would need to see data that tells me that, because you can say I feel that 40% of the RuneScape player base was bots. But unless you can give me something to hang that argument on, I'm going to say, okay, I don't think that, especially not in a free-to-play game, because in a free-to-play game, the developers are incentivized to get rid of cheaters because it keeps the load on the servers low. People say, well, why does it happen in Final Fantasy 14? Why don't they just ban people right away? Because they do roll-ups. Well, they're screwing the economy. You're right. And they screw the economy in one way. They screw the economy on crystals. But Yoshi P has already acknowledged that they don't really care too much, because they realized they made a mistake with the crystal balancing. And if everything needed as many crystals as they have it laid out to make, nothing would ever get made in Final Fantasy. That's the piece this person doesn't want to acknowledge. Sometimes developers know something's broken, but they realize that in order to fix it, they would have a really, really, really big problem. They would have a really, really, really big problem. They'd have to start gutting entire systems. I'm gonna finish the Stream Raiders match. We're gonna stay on this topic for a little bit. I wanna roll down. You guys have been making some really good comments. But I'm now, for the second half of this segment, I'm interested to know, how do you guys want to see gold buying battled? How do you guys think They shouldn't have. Wow, did we just fail a 2-star or 2-skull PvE to start our day? Wow. Wow. Start new map. Yeah, just start a new map. We're gonna go up here. That was so embarrassing. We just lost on the first map of the board. All right. Final Fantasy posts weekly numbers on how many gold buyers and whatnot they ban. Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. Final Fantasy 14 bans bots pretty quickly. They post the numbers. Let's see what other people said about this thread. Some people will rationalize buying gold like they do other types of reprehensible behavior. But if Ashes of Creation quickly and efficiently permabans both the buyer and the seller, word will soon get out what will happen. Ashes of Creation cannot wait a month to start bans. They have to do it from the start. This will discourage the practice so that the loss of the player base will be minimized. Absolutely. People do a better job on WoW private servers regarding gold selling and hacking than any games owned by corporations. Okay, but you'd have to give me more than that. I agree with the sentiment that buyers and sellers should be aggressively tracked down. Oh yeah, they absolutely should be. Also, the types of players. Try selling or hacking on a private server and you'll get banned in 10 seconds. Could that possibly be because the GM to player, or the administrator to the player base ratio is a whole lot lower than it is on the official servers? Because I would say, yeah, probably. I also do want to just point out, private servers are criminal enterprises anyway, because you're violating somebody's intellectual property and their copyright law. So I don't, it's like, I'm happy that the person who's breaking the law is breaking the law in a way that they're able to, they're able to break the law and they're able to do things a little bit better. There are 20,000 players online. Okay, there's 20,000 players online. Compare that to millions on the official servers. So, again, if you say 20,000 players online and they have 3 admins versus millions of players, the ratio is going to be a lot closer. Plus the fact, on a private server, you're probably going to get a lot more Johnny on the spot reports from the player base. I don't get how we reached a point where some people would be mad that a cheater is banned. Also, some people are born rich, so the kid who has too much time in his hands doesn't make sense. I know, that's the thing. Some people have disposable income, but if I have disposable income, but if you tell me I'm going to get banned if I buy gold, I'm not going to buy gold. It's just that, well, I wouldn't buy gold anyway because I don't like cheating. But and here's the difference. If you tell me if I buy gold, I'm going to get banned because that's cheating, then I'm not going to buy gold because that's cheating. But if you tell me I can buy an Apex in ArcAge from the developer and swipe for gold that way, I'm going to do that because you've told me I can and it's legal. So now you're actually creating a pay to win. This person's trying to say, I want to stop gold buying because I want to stop pay to win by institutionalizing a methodology where the rich can pay to win and the poor, well, they're going to have to go to third-party sellers anyway. Creating a system where some people can get gold, legally at a higher price, forces other people to get gold at a lower price. So what this person says is, what this person's argument was, they should allow people, Intrepid Studios should just sell a phoenix buck or a phoenix nest, whatever, we'll call it a golden phoenix. Intrepid should sell an item, right? This is this person's argument, and I can't draw a bird for shit. It's gonna look like a chicken. There you go. So Intrepid should sell this for $10, right? This person's argument is Intrepid should sell this for $10. And then 2 of these can be cashed in for your monthly sub, right? So basically, I go to Intrepid Studios, I buy 2 of these, I put them on the marketplace, these go onto the marketplace, right? And then some player trades, let's say 500,000 gold each. So 1 million gold goes into the market. These go into the market. These go to the player. The player pays their monthly sub. And this 1 million gold comes to me. And I'm also the guy over here that bought these. That's what this person's saying, is Intrepid should do this. This is the worst possible way to handle this, because this entire system is pay to win. It's legal pay to win. So what happens is, because you've set that system up, what you're doing is you're creating a demand. You are creating a demand on gold. And what you're doing is you are actually creating your problem. Remember I said, really great scene from Moneyball, what's the problem? And Billy goes around the room, Brad Pitt's playing Billy Bean, goes around the room and says, what's the problem? And the guy starts to try to explain the problem. He says, no. What's the problem? No. What's the problem? No. And then he has to explain the problem. This entire post is from a guy who doesn't know what the problem is. Isn't there an element of timing too? You can catch offenders, but the damage to the game's economy could already be done. You are absolutely right that there is a window of opportunity to catch offenders before they do damage to the economy. And the trick to that is you have to do that right at the very beginning. You can't decide that your active GM core is going to come online 30 days into the game. Your active GM core must be present on day -5. Your active GM core should be there in beta getting practice. Your active GM core should be there in beta getting practice on how are they going to handle chat infractions, how are they going to handle gold infractions, how are they going to handle gold selling spam. It's really easy, right? And anybody who's been a GM, we have a couple of former GMs from different companies. The amount of time it takes to ban somebody is short or long depending on the company and depending on the process the company has set up for the other pieces. Are they going to challenge the chargeback that the person's going to do? The simple greatest thing you can do is on day 1, let the player base see gold-plated armored GMs at every portal. When people are going to be, it should literally be GM Skippy, and GM Skippy should be at the portal, and they should put a message out to the player base. The GMs are not running any events on launch day or launch week or launch month. We're not running any events. We are there because when we find a person whose username is that, we're going to ban it. We're just going to ban that username. Let's see. Only way to combat cheaters is to have live GMs. Yep, we're going to talk about live GMs here in the next segment. I would like an aggressive punishment. Is there a way we can lock a character in public stockades where they can't use their character for 30 days? No, that wouldn't go over too well. You can fix the gold buying problem easy by typing every hour that 10 to 15 people got banned in the world chat. Yes, you can. You are absolutely 100% correct, and I absolutely 100% agree with you, and I think 100% they need to go one step further, and what they need to disclose is they need to disclose publicly during launch week on server messages across all the servers, in launch month across all the servers. It should be like the Hunger Games, man. Twice a day they should flash the cannon and put the hologram in the sky, and they should say, in the last 12 hours we've banned 147 accounts with a total of $10,157 in backing and cosmetics and packs. Stop cheating and just move on. I think the only successful model for getting rid of gold sellers is to commit to economic warfare against the sellers by systematically removing the customers. You can't do anything about the deep pockets of the sellers except making it infeasible for the player base to justify the purpose. Yeah, absolutely. Because remember, supply and demand. The person that made this article wrote a really good piece about supply and demand. The inverse of that is also true. Okay, so you've got supply of gold, demand for gold, sets price of gold, but creates a need for gold sellers. Okay? The supply of gold and the demand for gold will set the price for gold, but this creates the need for gold sellers. However, if you ban gold buyers, you reduce the supply of gold buyers, which means you reduce the demand for gold from sellers, which, you know, stifles the need for gold sellers. If I start banning gold buyers, there's less people buying gold, which means there's less incentive for gold sellers to come here. Plus, remember, Intrepid isn't allowing free accounts on their servers. You're gonna come to Ashes of Creation, you're gonna pay the subscription fee. Now, a lot of gold selling organizations will use stolen credit cards. However, if you just ban that credit card number, if you start getting a number of them from the same bank, just ban the entire bank. Wait, will you maybe lose some legitimate customers if you ban an overseas bank? Maybe. However, you guys all remember AOL and AOL back in the day. People had a credit card number generator, and it was before the days of instantaneously hitting your credit card. If you have a bank who seemingly a lot of your fraudulent banned accounts are coming from that bank, just ban the bank. Companies don't ban a bank that's stupid. No, it's not, Zetrix, because a lot of these organizations are able to generate credit cards, electronic one-time use credit cards, through banks in third world countries. Remember, your credit card number has information in it. The first 8 numbers of your credit card information are bank identification information. So if you keep getting, if 20% of the accounts you've banned this week all have the same banks or same credit card company or same whatever's payment method, just ban that. You might get one or two legitimate customers, and those people can put in tickets. The gold sellers aren't going to put in a ticket. The gold sellers are going to, and here's the thing, you're also remembering, time is money. If the gold sellers are getting stifled, if the gold sellers are getting stifled, they're going to move on to a game that's the path of least resistance. Let's see. If there should ever be a system that spends as much time developing its economic and GM tools around it, where they quickly can investigate transactions and track activities back in time. Yeah, absolutely. And you got Steven knows this stuff, and they've talked about building these tools in at the beginning. Frankly, I like the existence of pay-to-win games because it lets people who argue that they have a lot of disposable income but not a lot of time to invest in an MMO play those games. Yeah, absolutely. Which goes back to my belief that gatekeeping is important. Let pay-to-winners play the play-to-win games. Let pay-to-winners play the pay-to-win games. If a game doesn't have pay-to-win and they don't have the time to invest in that game, it's not for them. Devs shouldn't have to allow pay to advance in their game just for those people. Absolutely. Absolutely. If I was in charge, I'd go the extra step and create a bunch of fake accounts in Ashes and make very public posts claiming all those accounts got permabanned for gold selling buying. No one needs to know those were fake accounts made by me. Make an example. No, Dante, you don't do that. See, you never ever lie. You never ever lie to your player base, because if you lie to your player base and they find out, you lose all credibility. Intrepid Studios is using Unreal Engine 4 as the base with a custom backend. So, obviously, let's look down a little bit more what other people have said. Report ban done. I agree with George. I agree with you that RMT can ruin games, but trying to change the game to combat it can be just as bad. It's also a fact that RMT will be present in Ashes simply because selling gold can be more profitable than working a regular job in many countries. However, I believe that some of the premise and arguments you made are empirical, not factual. I think anecdotal fits there better. For instance, just ban people buying gold counter argument is not a fact. I'm only speaking for myself, but if Intrepid introduces any sort of WoW token, I'll stop playing. Yep, because that's pay to win. Is there an example for an MMO which went against gold sellers, buyers, and was successful. Final Fantasy XI was very, very successful about banning gold buyers. They banned gold buyers, and a lot of the gold sellers went away because you ban the gold buyers, there's nobody to sell to. If they prohibit the trade function between players to prevent gold exchange, get ready for another BDO setting. That's the problem. If you make your economic system non-attractive to your players, then your people aren't going to play the game. Gold selling messages on zone chat should be reported, and GMs pretend to be buyers and ban as many people involved as possible. The seller would have to set up another account, manage to produce another large amount of gold, and then find another customer. This is exactly what Intrepid is going to do. First of all, most of the accounts you see spamming for an hour or 2 hours in games, if a game doesn't have active GMs and the same account spans for 6 hours, buy gold now, you just have a game company that doesn't care. A chat message of buy gold now should be eliminated after about 5 minutes. And I say 5 minutes because remember, you have a finite number of GMs, but this also starts with setting up good reporting tools. If you set up good reporting tools to the players, Final Fantasy XIV finally got it right. I don't have to fill out a lengthy report for RMT activities. I simply right-click on the person's name, and in chat, I can report RMT activity. If that happens, and you set up a GM tool right, then you're going to have a GM board where it's going to say Malboro. There's been, in the last minute and a half, there's been 19 reports of a gold seller. Boom, let's just action it.
I see, Sprocket. We've reached the end of another video. Time to thank the sponsors. Yes, that will do, that will do. Shall we pop off for a spot of tea?